but it really brought me back to this, okay? This right here is the demo form. And it really helped reestablish for me one of the reasons why this exists, okay, the demo form. I know that not every office uses this demo form, okay? And, if you don't use the demo form, that's okay. I'm going to share my screen and show you. You still want to get the things done that are on the demo form, okay? That's when you're new. I know that what people think, what you think when you're brand new is that, oh, this is so that the manager can, so I can prove that I'm doing demos, right? I turn these in, and if I turn in 10 of those, that means I get at least $10 or 10 base pay appointments paid to me, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, it does serve that purpose, okay? But it serves a lot bigger purpose than just that, okay? So here's a copy of the demo form, okay, what it shows. And I'm gonna walk you through it. I want you to understand every little bit of it. And this has gone through several iterations over time. Doesn't really matter. You still, if the one that you have, maybe you have several that were, your office made a lot of copies. It doesn't say exactly the word for word stuff on here. It still serves the same purpose, okay, the reason that it exists. Right, so the very top, obviously name, rep, number, date, that's pretty easy. That does help us verify the appointments. But this part right here, which is just totally for the customer. This is a reassurance to the customer that there's nothing weird going on here. We're not selling their information. We're not giving their phone number to anybody. It's just simply used for this sole purpose. It says, we sincerely appreciate you taking the time to give us your opinion on a representative and our product. Please fill out the following information, which will be used only to verify the work. All information is kept completely confidential and will not be shared. Thanks for your help, okay? Now, if yours doesn't have all that word for word, you just want to say that. You want to reassure the customer the point. It's a gratitude. We may let them know that we appreciate it. We reiterate that we're looking for their opinion, okay? That's an important part because most phone approaches talk about how we're doing this to get their opinion on me and on my product and how I'm doing. And then we want to let them know that everything is confidential, okay? Just tell them straight up because we don't do anything with these. You guys, when you turn them in, we basically process base pay if it's needed, and then we give them back anyway. Time of the appointment, telephone number. These obviously are simple information. Help us with the base pay. Name. Now this right here on the name, this gives you an opportunity to have a fun little building rapport. And this is what I watched Ben Cooper do the other day. And I didn't know if a lot of reps actually do this. I teach it all the time, and I never know if people are putting it into action exactly. But right here, this, and by the way, I recommend that you fill this out yourself with your own handwriting. The only thing that needs to be in their handwriting is after the demo is done, and they're giving you their opinion, they're giving you some feedback, and they're signing the thing. Okay, you could do the rest of this in your own handwriting. And here on the age, right? We don't want to ask people their age, right? You don't. I remember hearing a story of someone was field training with Mark Lobus when he was a brand new rep, and Mark Lobus, who's now known as one of the all-time greatest vector people of all time, he didn't have a lot of social graces when he first started. And Mark will tell you the same thing. And he literally went to build rapport, and someone who also became a manager eventually was watching him on this field training demo. And Mark's like, and we didn't have this sheet or anything. And Mark's like, you could tell his wheels are spinning, and he's trying to think of something to say, right? Really awkwardly. And he said, "So, Miss Jones, how old are you?" Right? And that was his rapport building question. Okay, you don't ask people, especially women, how old they are, right? And he went on to become, like I said, an all-time top sales rep, and even more great manager through the vector training and the vector experience. So here we get their name right there. Again, you can fill out a lot of this before you even show up. And so let's say that you think they're between 50 and 65. Okay, that's what you're. Hold on just a second here. I want to just see if I can make this even bigger. 200, that can be too big. No, it's not too big. And so if you think they're anywhere from here to here, okay, go ahead and make a joke like they're in here, okay? So now, Ms. Jones, let's see. It says here we need to figure out your general age. You're probably, let me guess, 25 to 29. You're right here, right? And you start to circle it, and they're like, no. You're so sweet. I'm right here, okay? And I saw Ben Cooper do that, and it was great. He did it with a smile on his face, and it was obvious that he was, kind of making a joke about it. But it's pretty cool, right? And if there's more than one person there, you want to get all the people that are there to have a look. Okay, and this does help us. By the way, it serves dual purposes. It does help me if I look at this and I see somebody, maybe their averages are lower than they should be. I can glean a lot of good information about who they're seeing and the dynamic of the demos based on a lot of this. Do they work? Full-time self-employed? Yeah, we don't want to know if they work for verifying demos, but mostly reason I want is I want an excuse to ask them what they do. Maybe you've already asked them what they do and because you're good at rapport building, but this question gives us some structure to ask them what they do, their job title. Okay, so let's say they say, well, I'm a civil engineer. Okay, oh, civil engineer. Wow, that's awesome. Listen, excuse me for being kind of dumb about this, but what exactly does a civil engineer do? Right? I remember having this exact conversation one time because I didn't know what a civil engineer did, and they talk about what they do, and you can get really fascinated and be very curious about it. Ask a few more questions. If they're talking freely about it, feel free to let this conversation about their job be a 2 to 3 minute conversation. Right? Why did you get in? How did you get into that kind of work? Okay, what attracted you to that kind of work? That's another good thing to ask. Okay, and you will learn a lot of things about the world and about life and about people when you ask a question like that. So that gives you a chance to build a little bit of more rapport. Okay, home info. We want to know: are they owned? Do they own a condo or townhome? Do they rent? They rent an apartment or something else? That also helps us when we're looking at whether reps are seeing prospects versus suspects. But it also just helps give you a little bit of a better idea of what's going on. Are they vegetarian? Yes or no? Okay. So this is obviously an important question. If they're vegetarian, we're not going to talk about, how this butcher knife is good for disjointing chickens and a lot of things like that. We're going to focus more on the vegetables, and every item in the homemaker, every item in the entire ultimate set has things that has uses for every item for things that are non-meat type of things. Okay, so keep that in mind as you go through. I was reading in fact, I think it's right here, Sales Champion Presentations. Okay, and right here it says it is wiser to invest the bulk of your time qualifying and determining the needs of the client than in demonstrating something that might turn them off. And that made me realize that sometimes we're doing a demo and we might not have asked the question whether someone's a vegetarian, and we're talking about all these meat uses, and we might actually be turning them off. Okay, it says right here, by qualifying, I mean that you ask them questions about their needs, wants, and feelings as they relate to your type of product. See, this is really good. This is what turns presentations into conversations. Okay, and this is a handout that I'll train on at some point called Giving Champion Presentations, and it's only quick 2 pages, but there's some really good nuggets in there. And as I was reading that made me think about this question. Okay, what brand of knives do you currently own? I want to know if they own high quality. I want to know if they own Cutco. I want to know if they just got a bunch of knives that's in a drawer that they don't even know what brand they are. Sometimes I'll see these filled out. It just says hodgepodge or mix and matched. And that gives you a sense of where they're at with their understanding of good quality kitchen cutlery. Okay, and you can adjust kind of the way you talk about certain aspects of Cutco based on that question. One of my favorite questions is this one right here. How many times a week do you eat out? Okay, notice it doesn't ask how often do you cook. Okay, and I don't even really use the word cook in this particular sense. If I want to know how often they cook, I would ask, how often do you prepare food? Okay, do you prepare meals or in the home? So when we ask them this question, okay, let me give you a little bit of good nuggets on how to use this. If they say 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4, okay, I know in my mind there's 21 meals a week that the average person in our country typically expects to eat. Okay, 3 a day, 21 times a week. So if they eat out 4 times, right, that still leaves 17 times a week they're going to prepare food in the house. Okay, so I would actually mention that as a thing. Okay, so let's say they eat 5 to 6 times. Let's say 5 to 6. That's a little bit more than average, Miss Jones. That's great. So let's say it's 6. If you ate out 6 times a week, there's 21 total meals a week. So that means you do some type of level of food preparation approximately 15 times a week, right? Which is a lot. Okay, still. Maybe it's less than most people. Now, if they say they eat out 7 to 8, 9, 10, or 11 to 12 times a week, or even 13 plus, which I don't know that I've seen a demo form turned in ever. Certainly rarely that has any numbers like that. But if they do, I'm fired up. That means they got money. Okay, you're not getting a money objection from a person like that that's got that many times that they're eating out. Okay. Now, what I like to do here is I like to I call it milk this question a little bit. I like to find out a little bit more information. Good sales reps know that if they can get their customers talking about things that they spend money on, it's going to help me as a sales rep understand the dynamic of what that consumer, kind of what their buying philosophies are, what they think about. Okay, so this is one way I can pull that out. I'll say, so if they do eat out 3 to 4 times a week, I say, hey, Ms. Jones, I'm always looking for really good restaurant recommendations. If I wanted to go out to a nice dinner, all right, and maybe impress a date or something like that, what's a really one of your favorite nice restaurants in the area here that could be really impressive? Okay, so I'd ask that question: where's a nice restaurant? And they'll give you a recommendation. I write the recommendation down, right? I'll write it down on this sheet, in fact. And I'll say, cool, what kind of, was that like a French restaurant, Italian, what is it, right? And you can have a quick conversation about their favorite restaurant, right? And then once they tell you what it is, say, just out of curiosity, if I were to go out with just me, how many people go out to eat with you, by the way? Do you take your whole family, or is it just a romantic thing, just 2 of you? Okay. If I were to go out to eat at that restaurant and impress a date, how much would that set me back, you think? Okay, and I'll rub my fingers together like that, which is the kind of the universal symbol for money, okay, cash. And I'll say, roughly, how much is that going to set me back, right? And they'll say, $80, $100, $150, $200, right? They'll say something. And what's really cool is I can use that. First of all, it helps me realize that, hey, these people are willing to spend some money. They go once or twice a week to go out to eat, or 2, 3 or 4 times a week to go out to eat. And they, sometimes will spend $100 or $200, right? That's just for one meal. Okay. And there's a lot of closing things I can do during the demo and things I can do during the closing, talking about saving money by eating in more. Okay. The average customer, Ms. Jones, I don't know, I'd say Cutco doesn't make someone a gourmet cook, but most people, what we find, Ms. Jones, is that they tend to eat in a little bit more when they own a set of Cutco because they like using it a lot, okay, especially when it's brand new. So even if someone ate in one more time a month than they did, and they spend, let's say, $150 or $100 on food one time a month, well, that's $1,200 that someone's going to save in a year just 1 year, just by eating in. Okay, now you do have to prepare and pay for the food. So maybe, maybe you spend $20 on the food that you eat at home where you would have spent $100 at a restaurant. So maybe you only save $80, but still we're looking at over $1,000 in savings just by eating in one more time because somebody has something nice that they like using in the kitchen. Okay, so we're in 40 years, that's $40,000 that somebody saves, right? So we can put in perspective the amount of money saving that Cutco is going to be able to give. So I can use that during the demo or during the closing process based on how much they eat and what kind of money they spend on the eat. Heck, you could just save the tip, not even save the food. If someone goes out to eat and they spend $100 on the food, they're going to tip them anywhere $15 to $20. So even $15 to $20 twice a month added up, $30 a month. That's over $300, $360 a year, and then 360 times 10 years, they'd save $3,600 in 10 years just by saving the money on a tip, eating in a little bit more per month. Okay, so there's lots of good ways to utilize that. Okay, then this question right here: do you cook because you have to cook? Do you cook because you like to cook? Cook because you love to cook? All right, that's part of the script in the middle of the demo. I like to find out right now, no matter what they say, my answer is going to be the same. Okay, they say they have to cook, like to cook, love to cook. I'm still going to say, great, Ms. Jones, I think you're going to be really, really glad that I stopped by today. Okay, you can even qualify that. Let's say they say they cook because they have to. They just do it because it's a necessity. I think you're going to be really glad I stopped by today because Cutco is a product that takes a job that you don't really like to do, and it makes it more enjoyable, easier, and most importantly, saves you a lot of time and gets you in and out of the kitchen as quickly as possible and gives you more time for those things you do like to do, like play tennis or like spend time with your kids or whatever you either know about them or learned about them from the person that gave you the name. You kind of fill in the blank, right? Ms. Jones, I think you're gonna be really glad I stopped by today because Cutco is a product that takes a job that you don't really like to do, makes it easier, safer, more efficient, more enjoyable, but mostly it saves you a lot of time. Okay, it gets you in and out of the kitchen a lot faster and gives you more time to go to the beach or whatever it is that that they like to do based on your conversation up to this point. Okay, if they say they love to cook, says Ms. Jones, that's great. Cutco's a product that takes a job you already love and makes it that much more enjoyable, makes it more efficient, and really helps you explore your creativity in the kitchen when you have really good tools to use. Okay, so those are some ways you can back up that question. Okay, this also is the time where you can ask a little bit about what kind of cooking that they do. This is going to help you with the names and uses section. Sounds when you do the names and whenever you prepare food, right? And once again, that's the only time I use the word cook is in that question, just because it's an easy way that it flows. Whenever you could say whenever you prepare food, even though it's saying cook, if you want to take it next level. Whenever you prepare food, do you do it because you have to, because you like to, or because you love to? Okay, you could just leave it at that. And then say, By the way, just out of curiosity, this will help me make proper recommendations and suggestions to you on the different items that we have, different tools that we have. Whenever you do prepare food, what is it you're preparing mostly? Do you do a lot of, and you give them some examples, do you do a lot of salads? Do you do a lot of chicken? Do you do a lot of beef, casseroles, a lot of desserts? Do you baking? You know, what kind of things do you do? And then whatever they say, you write that down. You can write that down on the back, okay? On the back of the sheet, there's a lot of, well, I'll just go down here, okay? The back of the sheet, there's a lot of things. You can write it right over here up to the right side of the wish list. Right? Or Sam's here to say hello. Hi, Sam.
Let's go to the iPad.
Okay, you can do that. Sam's going to school here in just a minute.
That one.
All right.
No.
See you later.
iPad. It's not in. No.
He thinks his iPad is in here. Hold on, I'm going to pause for. Oh no, he's going. All right. There he is. So you can just write it down on the back here. Okay. Somewhere in any of these areas that you have a little bit of room, you can just write down some of the things they cook and refer to that during the demo. Okay. So hopefully that stuff made sense. Right now. Then you just dive into the demo as you would normally do it. Now, how long should all this take? Listen, my recommendation is you use this as part of the rapport building process. See, sometimes customers, whether you realize it or not, are getting kind of antsy that they want to get this show on the road. They want you to get going, okay? And they might be being nice and talking to you before you get started. You might be trying to be nice and talking to you. I know if you're ever on the phone with somebody that on the phone, that it seems like they keep talking, like, oh my God, not just a Cutco customer. I'm talking about a friend of yours or whatever else. There'll be people that I'll observe people on the phone for a long time and they'll hang up and go, man, that person loves to talk, right? Well, you know what, when they say that, the person on the other end, they're probably saying exactly the same thing. Man, that person loves to talk, right? Because both people were just trying to be nice and, you know, respond and play off the other person's conversation. But really, both people would have liked to have been off the conversation, you know, 5 to 10 minutes sooner. Okay. Well, you might be building rapport thinking that you're doing a good job, but the customer in the back of their mind is, you know, I really got a lot going on today. I wish this kid would get going. Okay. So if you dive into the demo, you have a little bit of rapport building about their, you know, their yard or something nice that you noticed that you wanted to have a conversation about, but don't like spend so long building rapport before you dive in. Get in, say, hey, Ms. Jones, I want to respect, look at your watch, say, hey, Ms. Jones, listen, I want to respect your time a lot. I know you're busy, I'm busy. So how about we just go ahead and dive in, right? And so you dive in within 5 minutes or so of being at the house, but then you still get to keep building rapport during this part of the presentation. And in fact, you're going to build rapport all the way through the demonstration, right? You're going to be a human being. They're going to be a human being. You're making a connection and you're having this conversation, okay? So this asking about their job and asking about how long they've lived here, asking about the kind of cooking that they do, the food preparation they do, where they eat out, favorite restaurant recommendation. All these things are all things that contribute to building rapport, okay? So that's key. Then here, this is when we encourage, especially new reps, and I would recommend every rep do this, clock in right then and there. Hey, Ms. Jones, I need to clock in for my demo. Okay, and you just stop for a second and you just make a quick phone call. And if you're an advanced rep and been there for a while, you know this will be really fast. Sometimes if you're new, we'll ask to be put on speakerphone and we'll say to the customer, hey, just want to thank you so much for helping out. I see Luke there, helping Luke out here for his presentation. He's working really hard for a scholarship, and you know your feedback is really helpful for us to help him, you know, improve his skills in the job. And also, if you see something you like, you could get it. Everything is for sale. But once again, he gets credit just for the appointment itself. Okay, so thank you for your time. You have fun on the presentation, right? And we just do that. And it's a super quick, less than 1 minute, probably less than 30-second phone call. Okay, and then once you've clocked in, you put a check mark right there. Another reason, by the way, that this exists, if some of you use this your whole life, so you don't know any different, but when I was new that this sheet didn't exist, and I could tell that there were some customers that kind of had a feeling that maybe this whole thing about getting paid for doing the appointment I might have just been making that up just to get over there and get an appointment. I kind of got the feeling that some people thought that. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was just me being paranoid. But I like having something that they fill out and that they sign. It just helps it feel official, you know, that we're doing the thing. Okay. Now, right here, part 2. Complete the evaluation below after the demo, presenting prices and customer decisions. So this is when you give them this after they've done all those things. And you remember from the video that I just showed you, okay, it talked about asking the customer, how did I do on my demo, right? And then asking them for some honest feedback, okay? Well, this does it for you, okay? So say, Ms. Jones, hey, thank you so much for letting me do the appointment for you. I know I'm glad you got some Cutco. You're gonna love your set. or whatever. And then you say, now I need you just to fill out these last questions, right? It also gives us the opportunity to tell the customer on the phone, hey, what my job is to do, I give you this presentation and, you know, or I show a product to people and then I get their opinion on the product and on me. There's actually 5 questions that you have to fill out at the end just to give me an evaluation. Okay. And we tell them that on the phone, which also helps the thing sound more efficient. Okay. Then we have them answer these questions. We just hand it to them. Unless it's a virtual, then you have to do it yourself, obviously, but you just hand it to them and let them fill that out. While they're doing that is when you're preparing everything you need to get for asking for recommendations. You get out your recommendation book, you get out your free peeler, or you put it somewhere where you have it handy. You make sure you turn to the page in your training manual for the sponsorship, right? So 3 important things you do while they're filling that part out. You also, where it says additional comments, that's where you want to say, Ms. Jones, hey, I want you to be really, really honest with me, brutally honest. And I want you to give me on the additional comments anything that you think I could improve on. Okay. I'd really love to have some criticism or some suggestions from you. Don't just say, oh, he did great. Okay. This is really more for me to improve. Right. And so get them to write something. Hopefully they give you some advice. And then you can say, when they give it back to you, oh, thank you so much for the feedback. This is really, really helpful. And if they wrote something there, a recommendation, you can get them to explain it. Okay. So you think, okay, so not look at the manual. Ms. Jones, thank you so much. Anything else you want to tell me about that? And get them to give you feedback, right? People love to give their opinion. Okay. So have a little bit of a conversation there. And then you say, well, most importantly, Ms. Jones, I'm actually really glad that you had fun. Okay. And you already helped me out with 2 scholarships. The 3rd scholarship is the most important one. This is the one that has to do with introductions, right? And then you take your introduction book. This is my book of introductions. And you go right into the recommendation approach. Okay. And then here at the bottom, you guys probably know how to use this for husband, wife, and single. And CPO, if they bought, what did they buy? The primary concern is if they didn't buy, what specifically is the exact wording that they said, okay? If they didn't get, or even if they did have a concern that they didn't get the homemaker, but they didn't get the ultimate, but they got a galley set, well, write down what their concern is on the ultimate set. You know, ultimate sets, the complete set's too many knives, right, or whatever. But if they don't buy, if you walk out of there with a no sale, okay, and it's really hard to do. If you do the program right, okay, and drop down on every single step and ask for the order on a homemaker or bigger, trade-in special, builder set, galley set, trade-in, galley builder, on, and you literally ask for the order 6 to 10 times at least, and always close on a trimmer on a two-pay, or always play the Cutco game, and always close on a trimmer on a two-pay, and make sure that they understand when you're down on the 1 or 2 knives that they're reserving their buy now bonuses for later. If you do that, it's hard to walk out with a no sale. Okay, it's genuinely very difficult, regardless of what kind of the job they have and the income they have. If they like the product at all and they like you, and you do that right, they all think they're going to buy later at some point, right? Maybe they win the lottery in 6 months. Ms. Jones, you can lock in the bonuses 6 months from now. Selling a trimmer on a two-pay is a last resort. A Santoku trimmer is what I would recommend, by the way, because it doesn't interfere with their homemaker set or something that they want to upgrade to, right? But if they don't buy, exactly as close to word for word as you can remember. And this, by the way, gives you a really good opportunity to pinpoint the objection before you leave and you're filling out this part. You say, Ms. Jones, okay, maybe mark this, 12 recommendations, good. You didn't place an order, Ms. Jones. Just out of curiosity, I need to write this down for my form. What is the specific reason why you ended up not choosing not to get Cutco today? Okay, and you pinpoint the objection. And sometimes they will not have been honest with you all the way up to this point, and I'm not like lying on purpose, but they're smokescreen objectioning. They're saying things that aren't the real underlying reason. And sometimes that you can get the underlying reason right there. And sometimes when you get that, you can build back up and actually make a sale. Like maybe they just say, well, it's just, I definitely want to get it later. But right now the money's just not there to be able to get the set, and the homemaker's the set that I want, right? So, Jones, now that you say that actually helps me out a little bit. There's something, can I make a recommendation for you? And then you close on a trimmer on a two-pay to lock in the buy now bonuses or lock in the first call specials, right? And that line, can I make a recommendation or can I make a suggestion? Okay, is it okay if I make a suggestion, right? And you say it with an expectant nod, and people will almost always say, sure, yeah, I'll have a recommendation, right? Because you're the knife expert. I was at the Orange County Fair yesterday, and I saw Nate do this, and it was awesome. Okay, the husband was kind of objecting on price and everything, and the woman wanted the complete set, and the husband wanted the basic set or something smaller. And what Nate says, hey, can I make a recommendation to you? I'm going to show you something, right? He pulled out the the Cutco Kitchen brochure with the 3 different sets on it and say, look, I know you're looking at trying to get something like this. You're looking at trying to get something like this. There's actually a middle ground. Okay. And that's this family set. And you boom, close right there on Siggy. It was awesome. So that's the first half of the demo verification form. I'm not going to teach the second half. We'll save this for a time later, but learning how to use the back of this is also highly, will make your close highly effective as well. Right. Stopping the share and stopping the recording real fast. And hopefully those nuggets are helpful for you.